Ananda for Americans in Action. Hey, I just wanted to let you guys know about a path that you could be on and not realize that you're going to a predetermined outcome set forth in place for you by the courts. Now, the term is called railroading, and I'm going to read to you from the dictionary that can save your life. What is railroading? Railroading, to force someone into a situation or an action by putting a lot of pressure on them to hurry and acquiesce right away. Here's an example. Don't let them railroad you into appointing an attorney to you. It's pretty interesting because when you hire an attorney, you're literally giving away your rights, and the courts will deem you to be incompetent. And actually, you will be, because they see you as one, you're not able to speak, you're not able to handle your own affairs. You're so incompetent that you have to hire someone else to speak on your behalf. So that's when the courts will do that. Here's the second meaning for railroading. To convict one of a crime without due process of law, or to convict them based on false evidence. Here's number 3. To force the passage or acceptance of something, especially legislation, by an authoritative body with such haste and pressure that the normal, careful considerations of possible implications are avoided. And number 4, to lead someone down a certain path to a predetermined outcome. So this is what I want to talk to you about today, is the path. I want you to remember these 4 letters. They even spell out the word path. It's presumption, assumption, tacit admission, and hearsay. That spells out, the first letter of each of those spells out path. So presumption, when somebody presumes a thing about you, it may or may not be true, but if they presume it to be true, then it will stand unless you rebut the claim. Nuts. Assumption, very similar to presumption. When someone assumes a thing about you, they're surmising that these things are true, but it's usually based on a suspicion. It's not based in facts or evidence, if you will, if you want to use one of the legalese terms. Okay. Tacit admission. What is tacit admission? So what that means is whether you agree nor disagree, it means you agree. Whether you're guilty or not guilty, it means that you're guilty. So in essence, if we do not rebut the claims, if there are false claims brought against us and we don't rebut those claims, then they stand as true. And so we have to stand. If we don't want false accusations or false fines or fraudulent happenings to stand in the courts, the corporate courts, which I call the lower courts, because they are a lower jurisdiction. Those are more of your local courts, your county courts, and things of this nature. And they have to yield to the higher courts. The higher courts would be the federal courts or courts of equity. And in some cases, courts of common law or constitutional law. Those are also called Article 3 courts. The last part of the path is the H for hearsay. Hearsay, basically translated, is gossip. Someone said this, it's he said, she said, it may or may not be true. So when we presume, assume, issue forth tacit admission by not standing or rebutting a claim, or we don't correct the gossip, which is hearsay, we are taken down a path to a predetermined outcome that was set forth by the courts. And the courts' loyalty is to the courts. It is a private club, a private corporation that most of you are not an employee of, right? So you're not going to know the bylaws of the corporation. You're not going to know the rule book or the language of the corporation. So it said that anytime you step over the bar and you enter into one of their courts, you're actually entering into a private corporate meeting. And so as a child of God, I highly recommend to avoid the courts and to handle matters administratively. Now, in some cases, you're not going to be able to do that because when you've been railroaded or ambushed, you might need to stand. And if you need to do that, just remember these two things. Number one, I'm a child of God. I'm a child of God. I'm not a legal fiction. I'm not a person. Remember, it's we the people, not we the persons. And I'm a neutral body. I'm a non-combatant. So I'm also a friend of the court. I said two things, but now I'm saying three things. So remember those three things. You're a friend of the court, which translates to a neutral body or non-combatant. And four things. My body is not to be used as surety. Okay, so the courts can actually kidnap your body and hold it for ransom for their financial transactions. And unless you let them know my body is my body ordained by God, I was created in the image and likeness of God. So therefore, I'm a child of God. So that what that means to them is that you have no business in their courts. Okay. So I really hope this helps. I don't want anyone ever to be led down a false path to a predetermined outcome. So together we're going to learn this right law language. And so we develop our standing in a bigger and better way so we can have kingdom of heaven here on earth. So be it, and so it is done.